This is a crime 100 times bigger than Watergate, and they just don't want to write about it.
Disgraced former President Donald Trump projecting about his own crimes yet again, this time at a rally in South Carolina.
When I get back in office, I will appoint a real special prosecutor to investigate every detail of the Biden crime family of corruption.
Well, firstly, you're not getting back into office again. And secondly, you should replace the word Biden with Trump, because there's only one crime family, and that is the Trump crime family, which has already been done for financial crimes, for sexual abuse, twice impeached, and recently indicted by the special counsel appointed by the independent Justice Department.
And again, out of respect for the office of president, I would never be talking this way, even knowing a lot of this stuff. I have too much respect for the office. But once they do what they did to me and to you, by doing what they did, so corrupt, I said now the gloves are off from that standpoint. What they've done is so terrible. So I'll speak differently than I would have 3 weeks ago. Because you never heard me use this kind of language. I wouldn't want to, out of respect for our country and for the office.
You have respect for the office of president? Well, you could have thought about that while you were actually the president. And if the gloves are coming off now, then what was all that stuff that has gone on for the last 5 or 6 years?
These people are sick. They're sick people. But despite all of this, they go after me.
You see, the point is that Donald Trump is terrified. He knows that time is up. He knows there are too many crimes and there is too much evidence. So all there is to do is to go to rallies and try to rewrite history in front of his sycophant fans.
But right next door in Georgia, the racist district attorney goes after me for a perfect phone call, even more perfect than the call I made to Ukraine, even more perfect.
Do you think that the people who go to these rallies want to hear about the perfect phone call again? I mean, maybe they do. Maybe, because this speech, incidentally, is 1 hour and 10 minutes long. But, here's the abridged version. They don't want to hear about the perfect phone call.
The only one they go after is Trump. Let's see, didn't he have a phone call? And when you think about that call, many lawyers were in that call. That was a call made when I was president, and I was protesting the election results in Georgia. And they had many. They had Secretary of State on, Raffensperger, and they had many lawyers on the call, some ours, but many of them theirs.
Yes, you were talking to the Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger. That's who you phoned to try and ask him to find more votes so that you could rig the election in that jurisdiction. You remember, he was the guy on the end of the phone.
Not one person protested that call. There was no problem with that call. They didn't say, "Sir, I'm sorry, please rephrase." It was only a long time afterwards.
It was only a long time afterwards. I mean, look, everybody knows that the crime was on tape. We can go back any time and listen to the crime that you committed on tape. It's on YouTube, it's on social media, it's out there, it's everywhere. And it's also in the possession of the special prosecutor. So, again, to try and rewrite history now is you just running away from the fact that they have got you banged to rights.
They said, "Let's see, Trump made a phone call, didn't he?" Well, we actually made another one that was so perfect that they refused to even show it or report it, but we have a copy of it. It was a perfect call. These were perfect calls.
Oh, you have another call, another perfect phone call. Okay, well, bring it on. Let's hear more perfect phone calls. I mean, more phone calls of you trying to get the election overturned. By all means, the more the merrier.
And if there was something wrong with that call, I am not a stupid person. Number one, I'm an honest person, so I wouldn't do it anyway.
You're not a stupid person? And you're an honest person? Are we talking about the same guy?
Do you think I'm going to say what they'd like to have? But the problem is, it's not borne out.
He's just using a word salad now. It's like doublespeak. He literally doesn't even know the point of this conversation. And the poor people standing behind him now are fanning themselves because it's hot and they're just like, ooh, this isn't really what I signed up for. It's like a therapy session for Donald Trump. They're having to sit there and listen to him moan and complain about the fact that he's committed a whole bunch of crimes and he doesn't really have a way out of it.
I'll tell you what is borne out. The call was supposedly taped in the state of Florida. And in Florida, you're not allowed to do, that's a two-party state. In other words, you're not allowed to tape phone calls. They taped the phone call to show you how nice they are. They taped the phone call, and you're not allowed. So that is the real crime here.
Oh, so that's your defense now, is it? That Florida is a two-party state and there's a law that says that you can't record somebody without the other party knowing. Is that what you're trying to say? I think that's what you're trying to say.
They had a two-party state with somebody taping the call, supposedly from Florida.
That's not the crime here. The crime is that you tried to get the election result changed in that jurisdiction. So, by all means, you can do a little dance and try and evade what's coming for you. But rewriting history in a speech at a rally in South Carolina is not enough to change what's coming.
With somebody taping the call, supposedly from Florida, the Bidens took in millions and millions of dollars from Ukraine, from Russia and from China. And now Joe has given China the green light as they open up, not even believable, military installations in Cuba, just 90 miles off our coast. Think of that. And that will end as soon as I'm president.
And then without even pausing or hesitating, Trump goes from that section of the speech to the next section of the speech where he tries to accuse Joe Biden of doing business with China. I mean, you couldn't make this stuff up even if you tried. And what has occurred to me is that the more time I spend analysing Donald Trump and just trying to kind of get to know where he's at and what he's thinking and how he's coping, I recognise that he is not coping, that he is struggling, and he is running out of options. He's run out of lawyers, he's run out of excuses, and he's now running out of time.
It was only a long time afterwards.
I'm Anthony Davis. You can hear me every day on the 5-Minute News podcast, on Wednesdays on MAGA Uncovered with Ron Filipkowski, and on Sundays hosting The Weekend Show with Midas Touch.